Hair loss can impact more than just appearance. It can affect confidence, identity, and how you show up every day. But today, there are more options than ever before. Dr. Paul Rose from Golden State Dermatology is here to separate fact from fiction and explain how today's treatments are helping people feel like themselves again. Dr. Rose, welcome to Live in the Bay.
Thank you so much. It's a
yes,
pleasure.
I'm so happy to have you here. Why don't we start with what exactly is a hair restoration surgery?
So, it is something that has evolved over many years. Many people are aware of plugs. You probably saw people, politicians and various celebrities who had the old-fashioned plugs. But today it's evolved to the point where it's very natural looking and you can't tell that it's been done. But it is still a surgery. And it does take time, and people need to realize that as a surgical procedure, there are risks.
Okay, and you were involved in developing sort of the techniques that go into restoring people's hair during these surgeries. Tell me about your approach and kind of what sets you apart.
I think there are several things. But I was fortunate to be involved in the development of some of the newer techniques in hair restoration. As you know, we started with these big plugs that people made fun of, and I was involved in developing something called strip technique, and to the newer technique, which is now called follicular unit excision. And I could explain those at some point if you wish. But I think what really separates us from everyone else is that, first of all, I'm a dermatologist. Many of the people who are doing this kind of work are not dermatologists. They're not people who are well trained in not just hair restoration, but in diagnosing hair diseases, because there's no point in doing a hair restoration procedure in someone who has an underlying problem that really needs to be treated medically. So unfortunately, there are a lot of people out there simply doing the surgery, but not aware of the medical conditions and the various modalities of treatment that are available for those people.
Yeah, so you're really taking a holistic approach. You're looking at more than one thing and kind of, going in it that way.
Right, and I like to think that I add a certain artistic element to it. I've written a lot of articles about what constitutes naturalness.
Yeah, well, I want to get into some of the myths. There's a lot of misconceptions out there. When people hear hair transplant, what do they often get wrong?
Well, I think they get wrong that it's unnatural looking, that it's easy to spot. It no longer should be like that. I think they get the idea that it's only for men, but in fact, increasingly women are having it done. I think another misconception may be that it's a painful procedure. It is a procedure, and it does take hours to do, but we can make patients very comfortable when we do it.
Okay, good to know. One of the things I'm also seeing a lot of is people traveling abroad to get these procedures done. Talk about some of the risks when it comes to that.
Well, you bring up a very important point. Yes, more and more people are traveling to places like Turkey to have it done. And the primary factor is probably cost, is the reason why they're going there. But what people don't realize is that in many places, the people who are doing these procedures are not physicians. They're not nurse practitioners, they're not PAs. They're people who essentially came off the street, learned how to do one particular type of procedure. Oftentimes, these people are not diagnosed in a full consultation before they come for the procedure. So there are people who shouldn't even have had the surgery getting the surgery done. And worst of all, there are people who are having complications, and there actually have been deaths that have occurred with hair restoration surgery.
I know a lot of scary things can happen when you're going abroad for all the reasons that you just mentioned. You also spoke a little bit about a consultation. I want to take it back to your practice. Why is that so important? If someone comes for a consultation, tell me about the process when they come to see you.
Well, it's a great question again. Most people often think that it's a simple process, and they're liable to have a consultation with somebody by a Zoom call who has no medical experience whatsoever. How are they diagnosing hair loss without seeing the person in person and looking at the scalp and the hair qualities? Whereas in a situation like ours, the patient comes to visit with us. We'll spend 30, 45 minutes. We'll take various measurements that are not normally taken in other places. It's not just a sales call. It's an opportunity for the patient to get a thorough evaluation of hair loss and the possible treatments for them.
Yeah, that's great. We talked about, not just beauty and aesthetics, but how hair restoration can really transform your confidence and transform how you show up every single day. For you, what's the most rewarding part about being able to treat your patients?
Is having a patient who will write to you after they've had it done and say, "Thank you for changing my life." men and women. And you bring up another important point. Hair has a profound effect on people. And we are often judged, unfortunately, in our society by the way we appear. But it can help you in your job. It can help you in your personal relationships, having hair. It can also change someone's life who's been the victim of trauma.
Absolutely. For anyone who's watching and thinks that, you know, they want to do this, this sounds very interesting, but maybe they're just a little bit nervous, what advice would you have for them?
That they should first seek out someone who has a great deal of experience, look at their credentials, go to someone who's willing to spend a lot of time with you to go through all of your questions, make sure you have all of your questions answered, go back, do a little research, and feel free to speak with them again.
Okay, Dr. Paul Rose, it's been so wonderful chatting with you. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. Yes.
Thank you.
If you want to learn more about Golden State Dermatology, head to their website. It is goldenstatedermatology.com.